Another question from Rajan. How do we keep defense from loading the box?
I mean, you kill them by throwing. Is that's what
And that's
you do.
where Tobias is such a big deal because
You win the one-on-ones
he is a one-on-one beater, man. And if I was watching tape, if I was UNLV watching tape in the backfield, I'd be concerned. I would be very like, look, they've got some guys that can just run by me because you've got Tobias on a safety who's like at 10 yards and he's cooking them. You know, it's like you see anything in the defense, and when you're in the backfield and you watch that on tape, it's like, oh boy, I gotta be careful here.
And like, here's a question too: when's the last time Notre Dame got a big play outside the numbers?
Yeah,
like,
well, that's a problem, just all the way around.
Yeah,
I mean, it would be the throw to Jaden Thomas.
Yeah, and which was underthrown. And it was a great catch, but yeah.
Right.
But I think, so that's part of the reason too, right? Is that like, okay, well now you have this advantage outside where you got a one-on-one or whatever. Well, you got to be able to win there. And whether that's the receiver or the quarterback, and I think a lot of the times it's been the quarterback, but you have to be able to win outside there. You got to be able to kill them on play action. I think Rees has actually done a pretty good job of like, you think of like, okay, you get the single high look and you get that play to Tobias, right?
Yeah.
You get both of those plays to Tobias, right? Where you have, your 3-by-1 and you have Tobias inside the slot, run a slot fade. Like that's because, they're worried about the run there, right? So I think, and even some of the stuff like the Cal plays where they, got the backs in the middle of the field, right? Those are plays where they take advantage of that. So that's something I think that like.
Is this showing up? Yeah, it is.
Yep.
Okay. So this is another way, loading the box, right? They have 7 inside and you're blitzing. Okay. This ball has to come out. Now arrows, this is not what they did. They did not do this. They just like he's pointing them out, but really they just run block, right?
Yeah.
This ball's got to come out. If you're doing this, like and here's the other part. Any offense is going to bubble this. They will have an RPO attached to this. Instead, It's just straight give inside run. They don't have an RPO attached.
Notre Dame had a bubble attached to this last year.
Right.
So this is something that I did today on Six Thoughts. Like, why don't they do this anymore? Like, I don't understand it.
Yeah.
Is it, and if the answer is Pine is incapable of making those decisions, then like that's bad.
I cannot believe that. I cannot get behind that. I cannot. I will not. I won't.
I think it's like I refuse to believe that because that's something a high school quarterback, that's something that he did as a high school quarterback. Yeah. So I refuse to believe that it's not, he's not smart enough to make that decision. He can't count. He can count that, oh, hey, we have an advantage to the outside. And it's like, well, how do you think Styles even just started to become a factor last year?
Yeah.
They threw him screens. This, the slot there would have been Avery Davis last year. And you would do it. But here's the other thing. If Styles is lined up in the slot there and you're throwing that to him, I don't even care if that's Michael Mayer you're throwing a bubble to. Guess what? He's going to have a one-on-one with a safety. That safety's got to come down and tackle him. That's going to be a win a lot of times for Notre Dame. Like, why aren't you doing that? And that was like why, like Brandon Wimbush, like it became impossible to have him as the quarterback because he was scared to throw it.
Yeah.
Because he was like inaccurate with that. He was scared to throw that. And at the beginning, if you look at like how Josh Adams and Wimbush got all these big runs of the thing, they were worried because there was always RPOs attached to those things. But then they really realized like, oh, it doesn't even matter if we just have numbers on the outside. He's never going to throw this. And that's why like they lost to Stanford at the end of the year, even though that Stanford team wasn't good because Wimbush refused to throw it. So I don't even think they refuse to throw it. They're just not doing it. And I don't know why that it's a mystery.
And this is how you create opportunities for these guys in space, right? Because this guy's head up on Lindsey. He's going to go with them if Lindsey shows inside, right? And since he's behind line of scrimmage, Lindsey could just block him. I mean, this is how you get house calls.
Yes.
Anytime, like you watch a ton of games, you can watch any game, any weekend. Some guy, it's like, oh wow, they busted. It's like, well, look at what Stanford's doing. They are being so unsound out here. It's just literally just like all you got to do is bubble it, throw it. And here's the other part. Let's say they have a mix-up, right? This guy jumps here. It's like, oh, I'm going to jump this route because that's what happens. And that's when Braden Lenzy comes free. You put them in a position where it's like you get guys confused and you have to make a decision. So this is how you punish teams for loading up in the box. This is how you do it right here. This kind of stuff. So, and it's 1st and 10 and you run into it. You run into this and this guy comes unblocked. He tackles him for a 3-yard loss. And that's not only are you creating a bad play, but you're throwing away an explosive opportunity for your offense.
Yeah. And that's the other thing too. If you're going to check with the sideline, you get into a play like similar to that Jaden Thomas 4th down play. When it's bad play and you're coming up to the line, either you have the freedom to call timeout or you got to get out of it somehow.
Yeah.
You got to find a way to get out of it.
Yeah.
Like that's, that's crucial, right? Like sometimes that, because if a play's going to fail, like why are you running it?